Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be talking again about human trafficking, and I'm really excited to have as my guest today Suzanne David. Suzanne, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a nurse for about 7 years in the emergency room, and I see a lot of kids coming out, a lot of abuse and violence going on. So I went back to school for my master's in public health.
Good thing.
And right now I'm working with the sheriff's department here in our county, just to bring awareness about domestic abuse, domestic trafficking, and human trafficking. Human
trafficking. Wow, tell us a little bit about human trafficking. What is the issues with it here in America?
Well, it's definitely, when people think of human trafficking, they think it's only internationally and it has to cross international borders, but it's also a national problem. We have people being, just kidnapped or being lured into prostitution just from our backyard.
Wow.
And they're just on the streets of your own neighborhood sometimes. And it doesn't have to cross any international borders, that's what I'm trying to say, or any even borders between a state or another. They might be just right next door.
Right in my own town.
Right in your own town.
Wow. Well, today I've asked Suzanne here to speak with us and share with us particularly about what we as women can do about this problem. I know all of us have our own jobs and we have plenty of things we're doing every day, but is there something I can do? Because this is huge. You said something like 500,000 children?
Domestically, there's 450,000 children that run away from home. And 1 out of 3 of these children are going to be lured into prostitution within 48 hours.
Within 2 days? These runaways are lured into prostitution. Wow.
Well, if you're going hungry for 2 days and you have no place to sleep for 2 days, especially if it's one of those cold months, or if it's too hot too, then you might as well just take the offer.
Well, and you're right. Children who run away from home don't have a bank account.
Even if they got some money before they left, it will run out eventually.
Yes. And so they have to do something. So what can I do, or someone in my audience? What are some things we should be looking for, being alert to? Just give me some background, give me some knowledge.
One of the most important things, and we stress this a lot in this country, is educating our community about what human trafficking is. Educating our community that it's not just happening internationally, that it is happening right here in America. That 18 to 20,000 of these international victims are here, and that, one of these 3 children are here too in our country being abused and being, sexually exploited or labor exploited.
Well, I remember that you were talking about how the trafficking comes across the United States, how it's coming through the cities and across certain parts of our country. How is that happening? I mean, are there cities that are worse or better or different? Is this in the community? Is this in North America? I mean, the northern states? Is it just the southern states? Is it West Coast, East Coast? Where is this happening?
Well, here in our community, in Southern California, you have a perfect environment to traffic people, especially internationally, because you have the border from Mexico, and then you have the ports to bring people from Asian countries and all these other countries, Russia and so forth. So you have that border thing that allows for the international country. But for domestic country, anybody is a risk.
Right.
Anyone it's a risk. It could be your own daughter. They could snatch her from your own house.
Yeah.
So, and we have seen stories in the past that this has happened. Yeah. So anyone is at risk.
Okay.
Of any age, especially we see it mostly with the younger children, because
they don't know how to say no or fight. They
exactly, and they're just easy to manipulate, and they're fresh on the market. Who wants a lady that you possibly have been with many men versus, even if this young girl has been with many men already, she looks fresh. So they want that fresh look. Men want to think that they are not getting any disease, and if they want to do unprotected sexual exploitation, they can do that too.
With these young girls.
And be safe.
So we're looking at the younger population, perhaps those people who have run away from home, both young boys and young girls, other age factors, racial factors. perhaps if they're new to this country, we were talking about that yesterday, or last time we had our show, that if they're new to this country, they don't know the resources, if they don't speak the language, then that makes them more vulnerable.
It makes them more vulnerable. There's a couple warning signs that I would like to go over.
Okay.
You know, one obviously is age. So obviously you're gonna see a younger woman or a child being trafficked versus an older woman.
Sure.
You know, and you talk about sexual exploitation. You know, yeah, some men might be wanting to date or be with an older woman, you know. They're white,
Not so.
right?
Not so.
But also, you know, for labor purposes, you know, an older woman might not be able to perform certain duties as a younger, you know, woman with more energy would be able to.
Sure.
So I'm saying women. Obviously, men are involved, and young, you know, boys are involved in this too. But we know that the percentage is mainly 80% of women and girls. So you're going to look at that warning sign of the gender, you know.
Okay.
Male versus female, age, and then you're going to look, do they have their documents? If you work in a place where you actually require documents from these people, is the documents, you know, legal? Or do they have to ask somebody else to hand their documents? Mm-hmm. What's going on there? You know, it might be a little question mark to think about it. Also the nationality. See what the demand for in this area is. If it's Asians or if it's Russian women American kids, it all depends. Just nationality is very important, the ethnicity of people. And then the context of this person, if you work in a hospital or in law enforcement and this victim is coming in, you know, see the context. How is she being brought in? Why does she have the bruises on? Why does she have signs of, you know, physical abuse? You know, is there a lack of sleep? Does she look like she's being arrested? Does she feel depressed? How does she look nourished wise? You know, is she well nourished? Are they taking, and some of these traffickers, they take good care of their victims because they know the better looking they are, the more money they'll make. You know, sometimes they just, you know, might hit them in places where you wouldn't normally see if you don't work in an emergency department or, you know, with people that are taking their clothes off, you know. But that's one of the things. Another thing is that we're seeing an increase in trafficking victims in massage parlors. You know, so men are going to get their massage, and then, you know, there's a whole, would you like a happy ending? Yeah. And, you know, so they're offered a happy ending. And these women are not offering because they want to make more money, because most of the time the money don't go to them.
They don't get the money anyway.
They do have a debt, what we call the debt boundage. They're bounded to this person because this person sometimes brought them to the United States, or they bought it from somebody else that, you know, smuggled them into the United States. So they have a debt to pay. And sometimes the situation here in this country is better than what it was in their own country that they are taking it in. You know, because sometimes we wonder, why don't they run away? You know?
But if you're not in your own country and you can't even speak the language of this country very well, where would you run to? And would you ever feel comfortable enough? This is a question, and I think this is a question where I have to do some soul searching. What would I do if, imagine, some afternoon at 7 o'clock in the afternoon, somebody rings my doorbell. It's a young adult, it's a child, it's a 20 or 25, 30-year-old woman saying, I need safety and protection in your house. How open would I be to say, come on in, sweetie. Come on in.
Let me get
You're
you some
safe
help
here. Let me get you some help here. I mean, are we that way as a nation? We like to think we are. But really, if somebody rang my bell, I think the next thing I would think of is, oh my goodness, who am I going to get in trouble with? Who's going to come here? Is that angry person that this person may have run away from, are they now going to come to my house with guns blazing? I mean, it's a thing, you know, we're also self-protected. We all build these little fences around ourselves, and then we think, with this little fence around me, I'm safe.
You're safe, but
really?
if trafficking is happening in your neighborhood, are you really safe? Because trafficking brings other crimes, you know, bringing illegal drugs, arms. So now you're raising the crime activity, the violence around your neighborhood. So if you're not really, you know, taking care of your community and the people that actually need help, then you're not safe. You're not really safe. You might think you're safe, but you're not, you know? And the other thing too is that this men are just, you know, they could come to your home. You could be in trouble for housing somebody, but there are numbers we could call. There is help out there. It's not every community. Like here in our county where we are in California, we don't have a human trafficking task force. So we don't have placement for these victims. And that's another reason why I'm here, making, you know, people aware, you know, of this topic. We need to raise funds. We need to make sure that will be something there. You might not be wanting to house somebody in your home, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have something ready for them.
Because we're doing a lot better with domestic violence. We have places where we have safe houses for women that can go if there's domestic violence.
Exactly.
But this is different. So a good way for me to get involved if I'm retired and a little bit bored at home and I'm tired of the magazines and the TV and everything else, and my girlfriends aren't home to have tea with me, maybe I could get involved in my community and ask about what do we do here for human trafficking.
Exactly, that's an excellent question.
Good
what
idea.
we do, and then a lot of these victims for human trafficking, you know, we do have, you talked about having foster care and other homes that we do place victims of domestic abuse. But when you talk about traffic and that victim being into prostitution, it changes who is going to really want to house them.
Okay.
And not just because they are prostitutes, that's the title, the label we put it on them, but because sometimes they have been in that life for a while, so they do act, you know,
they don't know
that
how
life,
not to.
They don't know how to, exactly. But does your neighbor wants to know, the neighbor with a teenager, 13, 14-year-old, want to know that you are housing, you're a foster parent to a prostitute?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what we call them, instead of seeing them as victims.
Yeah.
That's what we call. We're starting to get away from that, educating, you know, law enforcement, medical professionals. But law enforcement, for example, they used to take these victims out of the road and throw them in jail. And if they're underage, you know, okay, you're going to juvenile jail because what are you going to do with them? We weren't taught that. Who is putting you up to this?
Yeah.
What's really going on? That you are out on the streets at this time of night when is a school night and you should be studying or sleeping?
That's really a great question, because now here's this person who is perhaps prostituting themselves, but not because of their own choice, but ultimately becomes the only way they know how to live. And it's survival. So then they get picked up on the streets at 2 in the morning because they're out there and looking flashy. So the cop takes them, and now it's almost like a double slam, because they're doing what they have to do to survive, and now they're almost punished. Or they are, again, punished by going to jail, which that probably is not a pleasant place for them either.
A lot of the victims don't come up and forth and tell the cops, look, this is what's going on. My boyfriend is putting me out on the street every night. You know, he says if I don't make, you know, $500 a night, then I cannot come back home. And if I do come back home without that $500, then I'm going to be beat up. Why would they come out to the cops, you know, to the people that we're supposed to trust and say, hey, you know, I'm being abused. I'm being exploited, when the cops, all that they're going to do when they pick it up is like throw them in jail and not even care. I have seen cases in the emergency room. This is an older lady that I actually saw, but she came in with skyrocket sugars. And I asked her, you're diabetic? And she said, yes, I'm a diabetic for over 10 years. And I was like, well, have you been taking your medications? And she said, no, I have not been taking the medications. I asked the cop, the officer, is like, what is she in for? Why do you need her medically clear? Well, she was prostituting herself in a truck stop here in our county. And I said, whoa, whoa. How do you know that, you know, somebody didn't put her up to it? No, she's a prostitute. We caught her before for prostitution.
Yeah, once labeled, always
That's
labeled.
it. And needless to say, cop left her with a ticket for prostituting herself because she was going to have to stay in the hospital and get more treatment, and they didn't want to be, you know, responsible for all the bills and so forth. So he left her there. She said, well, I'm glad I came. I haven't been able to afford or buy my medication. And she was just very worried about her daughter, and she made sure that I would call her daughter at home and make sure that her daughter was okay. And when I call, just a weird young voice of a male answered the phone. And I was thinking, oh, the daughter's alone. That's why she wants me to call. And he's just like, tell her not to worry about it. I'll take care of her. And for some reason, studying this business.
You know what? I'm so proud of you, because you know what? When our radar goes up, we need to listen to it. We know inside of ourselves, everybody's wired this way. We know. So you let your radar go up, and what happened?
Right, I did. And I went to tell her, I was like, well, this gentleman said that not to worry about it. That she'll be safe. And you can see her facial expressions just change of how sad she was. And she was like, do I really have to stay here tonight? Is there anything you can do so that I can go home? I can't really stay. I can't afford health care, you know. And you start with all this, you know, other excuses why you can't stay. And in a way, I feel, what if this man is gonna abuse her daughter now?
And you know what? I think you've shared this with me before, and I know it's stuff I've read. So many times women who are caught up in this don't want to be there, but it's for their own children that they're in this, to protect, in a sense, their own children, and then their children are lured in this. And wow, I can't even imagine the hurt and heartbreak it would bring to a mother to have to be involved in all of this and not be able to be strong enough to even protect that child at home.
To have somebody at home that you know can do the same thing that he has been doing to you all these years to your own child. Oh. That must just be terrifying.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
Makes me think twice if I want to have kids on my own.
You know? It's a hard thing. So what are some warning signs that I would know this is happening in my neighborhood?
Okay, so you, like in Shima Hall in a previous show that we talked about, you would notice, you know, is this child, you know, going to school? Is somebody always in the house locked? When you go to get your nails done or you go to get your massage, you know, are the gates in the window to prevent people from coming in and steal the establishment, or are the gates in the window to prevent people from going out at nighttime?
Oh.
Are they being...
I'm gonna look at those bars and windows differently now.
Yeah, we look at our people doing our nails, and they usually have their eyes down, and they're not really, you know,
they don't talk much.
Speaking much. Is that because they can't speak the language? Is that because they can't speak with anybody because they're not allowed to say much and share their story? Or is that because they're just afraid, you know? What is it? What is causing them to be held back? Are they getting paid, you know, the money that they should be for the services they're giving? You know, how is their physical appearance? Does it look like they have appropriate clothing for the weather, appropriate clothing for their age? Those are all factors that we need to consider when we look at a victim, as well as the age, the gender, documents, all the stuff that sometimes people won't be getting into that as much. But
well, and if somebody's doing my nails that is way too young, I think I should be a little concerned.
And it's something that we don't know. Most of this, you know, ladies are Asian and they look younger. Yeah. So you might say, she's just Asian, you know? They usually look younger anyhow, so we'll be okay. Yeah. And we'll just pass by.
And then we know that they're also used for domestic work or in sweatshops.
In sweatshops.
In place I don't ever go.
If you live in an area that is big in agriculture, you know, where's the agricultural workers? You know, do you see them out of their workplace? They going to the local restaurants or going to the local, you know, market to buy their food or so forth, or they always disappear. They're there during the day. You drive by, you know, the field, you see them picking or doing whatever, and then they disappear. Where are they sleeping? Where are they staying? You know, those are all factors that we need to pay attention to.
Well, what can I do personally to prevent human trafficking?
What can you do? One of the things, again, is to educate. Educate
So let my friends know.
Let your friends know. Educate your children. Very important. You got to educate your child about, you know, not giving in or not running away, or, you know, just give that love and education. Pay attention to your you know, classmates in school. How are they doing? When they bring classmates, you know, to the home, which is, it might be rare to bring a victim.
No. I can remember clearly several years ago My oldest daughter brought her friends over I think she was about 7th grade, brought 5 girlfriends over to spend the night. I will cry almost telling you about this, but one of the little girls was kind of, she was a little inappropriate. But we loved on her. She was over a couple times, and one morning, they spent the night, these 5 little girls spent the night at the house, and they had a great time, the pajama party, everything. And in the morning, when her stepdad came and picked her up, I opened the door and I got goose flesh. I just shuddered the way he touched her, the way he looked at her, and the way he said her name. And you know, this hasn't left me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. Now, what should I have done? What could I have done? I didn't want to make it more jeopardizing.
Women have great sense. We have great sense. We truly care about our children. So if that light goes on and you think that something is going on, then, you know, investigate. Ask the family. Ask your daughter, how is she in school, you know? Is she appropriate? Ask the teachers in school, you know, before, if you're truly not wanting to, you know, go out of your way and call and make a report that might not be, you know.
Let's get nosy.
It's confidential, just so everybody know. Is confidential.
So if I make a report to police, or who would I call?
Well, you can call your local police department.
Okay.
You can dial 911. If you have a suspicion, dial 911. I think this is a case of human trafficking, domestic trafficking or violence. Call 911. Call the National Human Trafficking Resource Center. The toll-free number is 1-888-373-7888.
Say that again. Let's go again.
And
so get your pen. Get your pen and write this down.
Yes. National Human Trafficking Resource Center. It's 1-888-373-7888. You can also call the FBI. They have a Department of Justice just for human trafficking right now. And the number for that is 1-888-428-7581. Again,
and I'm sure if you dial 0, they'll help you. But
they will help you.
Say that one again.
And then for the FBI again, the Department of Justice for Human Trafficking is 1-888-428-7581. And for the missing and exploited children, the National Center for them, the phone number is 1-800-THE-LOST. So we got to think of these children as the lost children.
They are lost.
You know, we shouldn't be leaving them or aside. We need to remember them. They shouldn't be lost in numbers. So 1-800-THE-LOST. And the phone number for that is 1-800-843-5678.
Yeah, we need to be calling for these children. Just as a society, this is modern day slavery. And I don't know, I thought with Lincoln we abolished slavery. And yet this is slavery. And this isn't just slavery of anybody. I am pained because in my mind, this is slavery of women and children. Oh my goodness. And I think we just sit around in our little houses and we have our little cup of beverage and we think my world's good.
It's not happening in my backyard.
Not happening in my backyard. So
neighborhood.
this is some loony thing, or this is something they just made a TV show out of, and they just want to shake us up.
We have to start thinking different. We have to start thinking that this is the reason why victims don't come forth.
Yeah.
You know, we got to start showing a little respect to them. It's not because that they are having to do such work that we consider dirty work, sexual work. It's not because that's the job that they're doing, and maybe because they have STDs or they have other signs, you know, of abuse that we should, you know, push ourselves away. We need to show love to them, love and respect. I think it's one of the first things to have somebody open up. If the pimps can have a child open up to them because they can call them daddy and they give them just basic food.
What was you mentioned in the other show, what was the basic things that little girl wanted?
She just wanted to sit around the table and have a meal. Sit around the table and have a meal. Imagine what we could do if we show true Christian love to these women. You know, if we show that they can have a safe environment, that their families will be taken care of, that, you know, police are trustworthy, that they are going to go and protect their family, you know, that they are going to be taught about their human rights, and they're going to be, you know, having social services and everything that they need to take care of their medical problems that now they have from being in this situation, their mental problems that they have from being in this situation, and that everything is going to be confidential. So they're not going to be looked upon like I was a prostitute, but they'll be looked upon I was a survivor.
I was a survivor, and isn't it? There's a whole show on TV called A Survivor. I mean, being a survivor is an amazing thing. It just occurred to me as you're sharing this. I know one of the issues of being older is, as an older woman, we lots of times feel really lonely. Our kids don't live near us. Our families are gone. Maybe our spouse is gone, and we're alone. And we sit in our little house alone, and we go, oh, poor me. I am so alone. Nobody cares. The reality is we don't have to be alone. There are people who are desperate to sit at your table. And I know, we take a risk when we open our doors. And you know, again, we have all the people going out saying, keep your doors locked, don't let anybody in. But I believe that divine creator protects the heart that cares. If you could open your door and care, if you can look into your neighborhood, if you can share with your friend this problem, if you can go volunteer at a school or a library or a hospital, or just make yourself more available, I think you're going to be protected. I think the forces of nature are going to come around you because you're doing a good and worthy thing in your neighborhood.
And with the knowledge that now you have, even though it's a little basic knowledge that we're giving them, you know, go out there, research, find out what's going on, find out how many victims are there, find out their stories. They have their stories online, you know, even if you don't personally know some of the victims like I do, and I had the privilege of talking to them and finding out exactly what they go through and feel their pain, which I'm sure I'll never feel what they felt, and I'm glad. I don't think I will be able to survive, or some of these victims have survived. But go out there, research, you know, make that your cause too. You know, be a human being, because this is an inhumane business. Be a human being, you know, give them a chance to live a life, even though half of it already being destroyed.
Yeah, but we can recreate that second half. And you know, the beauty of human nature is we are really a resilient group of individuals, and survivors come back. I want to thank you so much for everything you've shared. You have a calling in life. This is a journey. And for you out there in my viewer land, take this opportunity to look around your neighborhood. I even give you permission to be just a little bit nosy. It's okay. In the meantime, till we meet again in the kitchen, stay well and be happy and enjoy the life you've been given.